Hi, this is Key from the HDBUpgrader. Today in this video, I'll be doing a data analysis on AMO Residence, a new launch in Ang Mo Kio, which is having its preview period now, and booking day will be actually next Saturday itself. Right, so for this video, it may be pretty dry because I'll be talking about data, charts, statistics. But if you are looking at AMO, or if you are someone who's looking at new launches, I believe this will be very beneficial for you. Right, so all these data are consolidated by myself, so you won't see them anywhere else outside. Right, so let's dive into what I have for you. Okay, so in this video itself, I'll be looking at 4 major areas. So number 1 will be capital gain. So if let's say you are going to AMO, so what amount of capital gain will you be expecting? Number 2, if let's say you are going for a longer investment horizon, how much is the rental yield going to be at this area? And then number 3, we'll be looking at the resale transactions in this location. So how has other older projects performed, and what prices are they actually looking at now? Are they transacting now in the current market? So number 4, what are the coming launches at this location? So the Lentor projects, how much will they be selling at? And then in comparison to AMO, does it make sense to go into AMO at this juncture? Right, so coming to Edge Property, so this is a portal where it's a property portal in Singapore, and then all the data is consolidated here. So it's always good to come to this portal to get all the information like your current property value and all of this stuff. Right, so what I did was, AMO is right here, and this is a 2-kilometer radius, and I want to find all the other older projects that is being launched at this location and see how have they performed through the past 10 to 15 years. So it's basically a geographical analysis to see how has projects in this area performed for the past 10 to 15 years. Right, so going on to the next slide, this will be all the projects that's within 2 km of AMO Residence, and I rank them, filter them according to the number of units at the project. So the biggest project at this location, 2 km of AMO, will be Gardens at Bishan, 756 unit, followed by the Panorama, 698, and then going down the list, my cutoff is actually at Thomson View Condo, which has only 254 units at that project. So for AMO, there's 372 units, which is considered a mid-size, which is why I selected 270 and above for a more apple-to-apple comparison. Okay, so what I did was I pulled out the map, and then from here, number 1, we'll be looking at capital gain of all these past launches at this location. How have they all performed? Okay, so this is a very easy way where I point out all the project location, and you can see how their performance has been from the day they were launched until now. Right, let me just zoom in. So I'll just go through this quickly so that you won't get too bored of this whole video before this video gets too long. So in a way, I have 4 areas, 4 time period that I look at for every project. So for number 1 will be where they launch until today. Right, so it's from the day they launch all the way until now. And number 2, it will be upon TOP. So a lot of buyers nowadays, they want to have the capital gain. So for example, for AMO, you'll go into AMO now, and then at the end of the 3-year SST period where you sell upon TOP, how much profit you'll be looking at. So this is number 2. Number 3 is 2013, after the cooling measures were implemented. How have all these projects performed during the down period? So during the resale down period, after the cooling measures where the market has remained stagnant for a good 6 to 7 years, so how have all the projects in this location performed? And then number 4 will be after COVID. So as you all know, in the past 2 years, practically all segments have went up by a substantial amount. So similarly at this location, how have all these projects performed in these past 2 years? Right? So for example, for Kauros, for Meadows at Pierce, Panorama, Bishan Park, Thomson Grand, so on and so forth. I'll be going through this pretty quickly. So from launch until now, you can see that all of them have attained good, healthy profits. And Thomson Impression, Thomson 3, Gardens, Clover by the Park, Central, Grandeur 8, Far Horizon, Seasons Park, all of them are in the green. So very healthy. If let's say you are a long-term investor, you buy and you plan to hold for 10-15 years, definitely no issues at all at this location. So number 2, upon TOP. So the very popular strategy that a lot of investors are looking at. So upon TOP, how have all these projects performed? So this has actually a very big difference for older projects versus newer projects, especially after the cooling measures. I've consolidated a table in the next slide, so I'll probably explain more on this in the next slide. But on the overview, you can see that practically all of them have performed well upon TOP. So for like Bishan Park, in case you're wondering how come it's not applicable, because this is older project where cooling measures wasn't introduced before, so it wasn't a very good comparison. So again, I will talk about this in the next slide. So next one will be from after cooling measures were implemented, the lull period. So how have projects in this area performed? So generally speaking, let me just go back to the top again. You can see that projects overall didn't perform very well, and most of them actually remain stagnant in this 2013 to 2020 time period. So like Seasons Park, Far Horizon, Grandeur, Central, practically projects overall have remained stagnant. So if let's say you are long-term investors, you do not get a capital gain, but of course rental is still there and you still get your forced savings coming in every month. And the last period will be after the COVID period. So during the COVID lockdown period, where the market has been climbing until today, how have they performed? So Kauros a good 15%, Meadows 12%, Panorama 8%, Bishan Park 13%, and this observation can be seen across all the projects at this location, which means that all the projects here actually follows the Singapore entire property index market very closely, which is a good sign. Okay, so I will go on to the next slide where I consolidated the figures into this table for your easy reference. So for here, I'll be looking at the more looked at numbers where most investors are looking at, which is to sell the property upon SSD, the 3 years period. So for all these projects, how have they performed if let's say you were to went into any of these projects and then sell off at the SSD period? So remember just now I mentioned the older projects are not so comparable. So these are the really older ones, which is a bit far off, so I won't be taking them into consideration. And then this middle batch that you're seeing here is launched just before the cooling measures were introduced. And then you look at this number here, it's really amazing. So people who bought properties long ago, this is the type of profit that they were looking at. But gone were the days lah. So nowadays you don't see this type of numbers anymore because our government do not want property prices to go up so quickly. So that's the reason why they implemented cooling measures, and this is the type of gain that we're looking at and expecting. And these were projects that were launched all after cooling measures were implemented. So for now, generally speaking, we'll be looking at around 10% to around 20%. And so where does this put AMO at? So for AMO, okay, I will talk about the developer's break-even price later on at near the end of this presentation, and then how much AMO will be, how much profit margin will the developers be looking at. So at this point, I will just put it at 2200. this is slightly higher. This is a slightly higher PSF that we're looking at. So upon SSD, we'll be looking at a 250 PSF profit. So where did I get this number from? So practically it will be from here, from the past 4 projects that were launched after the cooling measures, and then how they had performed, right? So it's a safe amount, safe profit margin that I'm looking at, and this translates into a 11.4% profit gain if you're looking at selling AMO by the time SSD period is over, right? So here the summary: projects from Thomson Grant onward will be a more accurate gauge because that is the era after cooling measures were implemented. And then taking a reasonable approach of just 250 PSF, this gives us a 11.4% percentage gain, right? So this subsequent chart that you're looking at is to show you where I actually get the numbers from this previous table. So example, I just go to the next slide. This one is Thomson impression. So at the launch, where you see this big blue bar, it shows the volume of the day one sale. So most people bought here, and at the end of the SSD period, where people start to sell, this is where I get the 17% profit margin, which is shown here. So the other project, Panorama, this is the launch day, and then when people sell around the end of the SSD period, about 10% gain. And this number is reflected here, 10.7. Right, I won't be going through every slide, but this is just to show you that whatever I'm showing you, the numbers here is based on data and based on transactions done. So it is based on real market data. Okay, so Thomson 3, Thomson Grant, all this I will just quickly move on. So second thing that we'll be looking at will be rental. So this is pretty important because rental is something that is sustainable, and in case because of market conditions like recession or COVID, something that we cannot foresee, rental is always something that investors fall back on in case they do not get the capital gain that we expect. So how has rental performed in the past 6 months? So for this this illustration again, is the same map that you're looking at, so I won't be going through. I actually consolidated all the numbers into a table in the next slide. So just to have a quick look, for Kauros, like a 2-bedder is going around 3.6, 3-bedder is about 3.8, and then 4-bedder is about 4.6, and so on and so forth for all the other projects. Right, so in the next table, you can see that I consolidated everything here. It will be much easier for you to have a look. Right, so for here, generally speaking, a 2-bedder is commanding at this type of prices now. So for Clover Butter Park, there's no 2-bedder units there, which is why I left it empty. And averagely, a 2-bedder is around 3.5, and then a 3-bedder is around 4.6, and a 4-bedder is commanding about 5.7, right? And then for AMO, how much rental are we expecting? So for a new launch, usually it will command a 5% to 10% premium versus the older project. Practically it's because people enjoy the new facility, they're going to be the first tenant that going to shift into the unit. So usually for newer TOP project, they'll command a slight premium. And to be conservative, I only put it at 5%. So for AMO, I'll be expecting about 3.7, 4.9, 6K for 2, 3, 4-bedder respectively. And how does this translate into a rental yield? So for AMO, again, I'm taking 2,200 PSF as a gauge. So for a 2-bedder unit, it's going to be around 1.35, 2.1 for a 3-bedder, 2.8 for a 4-bedder. And even at a 2,200 PSF, you can see that the rental yield is still very, very healthy. So for a 2-bedder, you can go up to 3.3%, which is for properties in Singapore, anything that's above 3% is considered a very healthy and very good percentage in terms of investment. Right, so third thing we'll be looking, number 3, will be the resale transactions. So units in the market, how much are they going at now? So comparing to the resale market versus the prices that AMO is going to be launching at, is it going to be safe going to AMO? So let's take a look. So for Kauros, a 2-bedder is growing at about 1.45 million, and these are real transactions already transacted. 3-bedder 1.69, Meadows at Pierce, the latest 2-bedder highest transaction is 1.645, 3-bedder went for 2.1, 4-bedder went for 3.1. So Panorama, practically the newest condo at this location, 2-bedder 133, 3-bedder is a 2.01, and 4-bedder transacted at 2.35. Right, so again, I've consolidated into a table for you to see it more easily. Right, so at this table itself, again, I put it at 2-bedder, 3-bedder, and 4-bedder. And you can see that for Panorama, Thomson Grand, Central, Meadows at Pierce, Kauros, Grandeur 8, all these are already selling above 1.3 million. And why am I taking 1.3 million as a benchmark? Because I am taking 2,200 PSF for AMO Residence, and buying a new 2-bedder unit at AMO is going to cost you 1.35. And what does this mean? This actually means that resale buyers are actually already accepting this type of price range for older projects at this location. So imagine if you are going to be buying to AMO Residence at this price point, you can feel safe because you are aware that resale buyers are already willing and their affordability is already bringing them to this level. Whereas for 3-bedder, similar case. For a 3-bedder at AMO, 2,200 PSF is going to be 2.1 million, and resale buyers are already buying at this type of pricing at this location, which is very near what you'll be paying at, you are paying for a new project. And 4-bedder, it would not be so near. So for AMO will be a 2.8 million, whereas there's only 2 of them that is selling around this range. So if you are looking more for investment point of view, looking at easier for you to get out at the end of the SSD period, I would say a 2 or 3-bedder unit will be easier for you to let go. Right, so summary, resale buyers are already accepting this type of quantum at this location, and they are willing to pay for property from age 5 years to 17 years old. So imagine if resale buyers currently in the market, they are willing to pay this type of prices for a 5 to 17-year-old project. And when AMO TOP in 2026, the youngest of all these projects will be around 8 years old to 20 years old. So it's like a brand new versus a 8 to 20 plus years old project. Yeah, so imagine if now currently all these projects are already selling at this type of prices, will it be difficult for you to get out at the end of a 3 years SSD period where you are brand new versus 8 to 20 years old? To me, I would say I don't see an issue getting out at that juncture. Right, so together with upcoming rental projects, so I will showing you this in the next slide. So what are the upcoming projects coming up at this location, which will make you feel even more safer getting into AMO? So let me show you the next slide. Okay, number 4 will be the upcoming launches at this location. So other than AMO Residence, what other launches will we be expecting in the next 1 to 2 years? So before I go into that, remember just now I mentioned about break-even price. So break-even price is, in layman term, the cost price for developer to construct the project itself. So taking the land cost plus the construction cost, the marketing cost, everything added together, 1822 PSF will be the cost price for developer for this project. And as we always project a 15 to 20% profit for developer, this translates to a 2186 PSF that developer must sell across all units so that they can get this 15 to 20% profit. But upcoming, there will be Lentor Modern launching, I think probably around the 3rd or 4th quarter of this year. The land price is higher at 1933, which means that they have to actually sell at 2320 PSF to get a similar 15 to 20% profit margin. The next one coming out will be Lentor Hill, similarly above 2000 PSF. And the interesting thing is that there's actually 3 more plots of land that the government is putting up for tender. And as we all know, usually land price gets higher and higher, and because of rising costs of materials, labor costs and everything, we will expect the prices for these 3 projects to become higher than what we're expecting for AMO, Lentor and Lentor Hill. So probably by not a lot, so probably just a little bit higher, but the takeaway is that out of all these projects, this current new batch of project, AMO Residences will be the first one to be launched. And this will mean that out of all these 6 projects, AMO Residence will be one of the lowest PSF that you will be able to get before all these projects come out. And this is actually a very important thing to know, because buying at a low versus all the other competitors, when you are able to sell at the end of the SSD period, they will still be stuck in the SSD period. So you'll be actually the first to be able to sell based on this current batch. And with your price point below what they will be selling at, it makes it easier for you to get out and take a 11.4 projected profit before they can even start to enter the market. Okay, so this is something that we received from the developer. In about 3-4 days ago, developer actually came out with this price point that 2-bedder is going to launch just at 1.26 million, 3-bedder, 4-bedder, 5-bedder. And remember, just now I was using 2200 PSF for all my calculations. The surprising part is that developer actually told us that they'll be launching at this type of prices. So what does this actually means? Okay, so these are the tables that we actually went through just now, but I updated the green portion as an add-on. So based on what I went through just now, I took 2200 as my base of calculation. But if let's say developer really launch at only from 2000, then of course the return that we'll be looking at will be higher, or rather it will make it much more easier for us to get out and take our profit. Similarly for rental, I was taking this for reference when I went through my slides just now. But if let's say we were to follow what developer gave us, then naturally the rental yield that we'll be looking at will be higher. 2-bedder 3.5, 3-bedder 3.2, 4-bedder 2.9%, and at 3.5 it is really fantastic. Even if I were to pull this number up to 1.4 million, it will still be above 3%, which is a very safe investment for the long term. Resale prices, so again it is a lot lower than what I've projected, and if let's say we are able to get at this type of price point compared to all the resale transactions which were already done, these are again real transactions that were already transacted. So this will make it even easier for us to get out, because we know that resale buyers are already buying at this type of prices. So upcoming launches, so just now I was going through, and this is the part I added in. So developer, if let's say they are really to be launching at only 1890, remember just now I was telling you that they have to actually have an average price to make their 15% to 20% profit margin. So this is my personal take, is that they may adopt something which I call a white price strategy. That means the first unit that they launch will be actually low in PSF. If developer wants to get their profit margin, the last unit that they have to sell will definitely have to be a high profit margin, so that they can average it out to get this profit margin that they're looking at. Which means that buyers who are going to be going for the booking day itself, the first batch of buyers who are lucky enough to get a unit there will be safer and expect a larger profit margin when the last unit is out. Alright, so this comes to the end of this video. So whatever I've went through is just pure data, numbers and statistics. So of course not forgetting that AMO Residence, the other major highlights about this project is that it is near to two top primary schools, Aitong and CHIJ St. Nicholas. It is around 5 minutes walk to Mayflower MRT, one stop to Bright Hill MRT, which is also connected to the new Thomson line, and this line will be going across the Bukit Timah area to the Clementi area, making traveling from east to west going to be much more easier in future, right? So this also translates to more rental demand at this location. Right, so of course whatever I've went through, data is always subjective, so some of you may agree or may not agree, so I just welcome any feedback or comments in the comment section below. Right, so if you want to have a more in-depth discussion, I would welcome you to give us a call anytime, and we'll be happy to meet you at a show flat or anywhere at your convenience. Right, so this is Keith from the HDB Upgrader. I hope that this video will be beneficial to you on how I actually look at numbers. So I actually do this for all other projects also. So if you're interested to find out more on any other particular project, you can just give me a call anytime. Right, so yeah, so that's about it. So I'll see you in the next video. Bye.